Public Works, are we, oh, okay, let me get out of this right quick, since we're on. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, 5 o'clock. If there's no objection, we'll accept the agenda as is. Is there any objection? Hearing none, we'll move on. The minutes, I need a motion.
Motion. Second.
All right, there's been proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously. Now, citizens' comments. Does anyone wish to be heard? All right, moving right along. That's the way I like this. We have one ordinance this evening. It's a reading of Resolution 2024-6, a resolution to accept the completed streets of Durham Farms, Phase 1, Section 16, Phase 3, Section 28A, Phase 3, and Section 29.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, there's any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All right, there's been a proper motion in a second. All in favor of Resolution 2024-06 signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, passes to the, does this go to the planning or does it go full board?
It will go to planning commission
All
first.
right, goes to planning and then Board of Mayor and Alderman. Now, what all we're here for this evening, that we've been waiting for. Our other agenda items, we have 9 points to take this evening, but we're going to go ahead and talk about the trash collection update and the bids. And Sarah, if you'd like to start us off.
Sure. So for the trash collection update for the previous month, this does not include this last week where we've had ice and snow.
Right.
This runs through January 12th, but it was much improved from what we had seen in previous years this time of year. For comparison,
Okay.
we did include last year's misses,
Right.
corresponding days as well, just as a comparison. And I mean, as you can see, it's significantly improved, and we're below the 250 house count threshold.
Great.
So
I like to hear that. That's good. Any discussion on that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Great job.
I know. I'm very pleased with that. I had some calls. We were just talking about that earlier, that some people were calling us on the trash, and I go, "Are you kidding me? I mean, have you looked outside?" That's what I said. You know, and they were going, "Well, we just didn't know. We're not complaining. We just didn't know." And I said, "Well, probably it's going to be a while, you know."
So a couple of questions. You put people in a tither when Waste Pro we tell people that regular pickup, but then Monday we were running trucks in Durham Farms. So I had to assure the HOA and everybody that they're probably just trying to get ahead. They will come back Wednesday.
That's correct.
So that always kind of confuses people when we tell them we're on a regular schedule. They say, well, they're in my neighborhood, you know.
Yeah.
So
Wednesday's the heaviest route. So if there were a day where they were going to have issues and fall further behind, that would be the day. And so they brought in some extra trucks yesterday to try and get a jump start on that area if anyone did have their trash out.
yeah, if we can, it's probably hard to get advance notice of that. But if it's possible, you know that we're going to run in parts of Ward 6, where. Anyway,
Okay.
so have they caught up today in the morning? Will they begin on the route, or are they having to pick up from today?
I have not gotten the end of day report yet.
Yeah, we haven't sent the end of day. I would say if there is anything that isn't finished, I mean, thankfully it was still even light out when we came in this evening. So there is something that'll be back just to wrap that up. We did have the extra trucks, and they were the automated trucks. You could only use those in a couple of places with Durham Farms being one of those. So that's why we chose there. I think they may have also run through and hit some pockets of Mansford Farms too.
Okay.
On Wednesday, just to help with volume, because we had extra trucks on Monday because Nashville did not run. The city of Nashville did not run, whereas we knew we weren't gonna have that, some extra assistance, for the rest of the week. So we tried to utilize it where we could. But once we get the update from today, I know we'll be sending that over to Sarah.
So does Nashville just run 4 days?
No, they bumped this week to be like a holiday shift. They
Okay.
didn't run it. They didn't have any of the contractors running on Monday. And I will say even today was a little questionable because we had 3 or 4 trucks get stuck this
Yeah.
morning.
It's still bad.
Yeah, it's just still spotty. Some
Yes.
places are perfect, just like we were encountering here. So, but I will say Trace and his crew did wonderful clearing, salting. There were a lot of text messages going back and forth. So
Good deal. So when do you think that you're all will be back? Probably by tomorrow or the following day, because it's going to be warm all the way through.
I mean, there's a good chance. I just don't know for certain
Sure.
whether, say, today was completed on schedule. If any rolls, I don't think it's going to be significant.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I think with the rain and the volume and just the lengthy route, I think we're just kind of having to wait and see how
Sure.
that goes. I think we're going to be very close to our own schedule.
Okay, good.
I mean, but we've got everybody on staff prepared to work Saturday if need be. So that
Okay.
nothing continues out further.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the update. And thank you for the information for Eddie in Ward 6. Now let's go on to the bids process that we've been working on for so
Sure.
long.
So we, of course, put our contract out to bid and received bids back. We had 4 bidders, which I believe you received the data in your packet, and also the board had received previously to review as well. Since we will be having the workshop
Right.
tomorrow night, if there's anything that the committee members would like myself to be prepared for to answer questions specifically, or if there's any thing that you would like to focus on tomorrow night as far as service levels, things like that, I'm happy to discuss that and make sure I'm prepared for those. Of course, I've reviewed everything. Just kind of some of the highlights. Waste Management submitted their bid. They only provided an alternate bid with one of their stipulations with the disposal at their disposal location, which of course our contracts are separate. So
Okay.
Republic bid once per week curbside options with add-on recycling as an option. They did not bid the bulk or the yard waste add-on options. Waste Pro bid the most options. They were the only bidder that bid the yard waste as an add-on option. They were the only bidder that added the unlimited bulk as an option.
Do we have that?
No, these are my notes.
Okay.
But it's from the raw data
Okay.
that you have. They were also the only bidder to bid on the 4-day collection, which we included as an option for events. It wouldn't have helped us this last week, but maybe this week it would have, where we have an event where we're going to have high volume, or we missed a day, we'd have an extra 2 days. We'd have that potentially that Friday or whatever that extra day was, and the Saturday to catch up. So that was an option that was included in the bids. Waste Pro was the only bidder that bid backdoor collection and twice per week curbside or backdoor collection as base bid options.
Okay.
Platform was the other bidder that bid backdoor as an add-on option in addition to Waste Pro. And then Platform provided an alternate bid with some additional cost options. So one of theirs, they have, it's a different annual escalator. So there's some different pricing associated with that. And no one bid for the add-on options for backdoor twice per week or curbside twice per week. So those were not options that were provided for us.
All righty. Anybody want to discuss, obviously the bids or the process or anything like that, or with anything? Do you all want to talk about it a little bit now?
I'm just surprised they didn't come in uniform. People bid kind of bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, yeah, it was too. Jesse, do you have any questions or comments on this at all, or anything at all?
So there are a lot of bits and pieces. So
Yeah.
what we try to do to summarize that was to establish a level of service. So you can see on page 23 is we just kind of went, item A, B, C, D to establish what that base level of service is. And I think, if BOMA has a base level of service, there's a cost associated with that. Then we can kind of bid, all the companies. But there's some companies who just aren't even going to be able to kind of compare to because not all of them bid that option. So we were kind of thinking that we might look at the service level of service options
Right.
and kind of get close to where do we think we want to land. I mean, are we going to want to do twice a week backdoor? Are we going to want to do once a week curbside? Based on the cost, it seems astronomical to do some of these options.
Yeah.
And I don't use that term lightly, but I mean, some of the options are 300-400% higher than what we're currently at.
What is the current, if we keep the current level, what is about 350% increase?
349. No, that's not even right.
So we're doing
Yeah,
once a
that
week
would be
backdoor
good.
and
Is the equivalent of 143%, I think it was.
well, E is once a week curbside and backdoor with unlimited bulk.
So
That's option. That's option E.
349%.
E. Okay.
And a lot, like Sarah was saying, a lot of, not everyone was interested in doing backdoor as just a standard option. So not everyone provided pricing on that. So we just took level of service options that we thought, hey, these are kind of pre-packaged, and BOMA could look at them and say, hey, once a week curbside with limited bulk is option A. Once a week curbside with unlimited bulk is option D. After you get to option, once you get to option D, everything is 100% greater than our current, in addition to our current cost. So option A is 36% above our current cost. Once we get to option D, it's 143% above our current cost. So, I mean, within our budget, it's tough to even have these conversations from D, E, F, G, H, I, and J, because the cost is just, I don't want to say we've gotten a really great deal on what we have, but it kind of appears that we've gotten a really great deal on the last several years, and not everyone's interested in doing twice a week backdoor service. It's very labor intensive and it requires a lot of trucks and a lot of drivers. So we kind of broke it up into our 5-day collection option. This is again just referring to page 23. And we came
Which
down
23 you're talking about? Because I've seen like two of the.
page 23 in the Public Works packet.
Yeah, okay.
This
It's before those pages.
Right after
this page here. Yeah. And because, as Alderman Martin said, there's a lot of different options to pick from. So this kind of we could at least look at, maybe if we want to keep costs below the 100% increase option, we can consider options A, B, and C, which are all under the 100% additional increase. We did do a 4-day option. So 4-day option with unlimited bulk is a 52% increase as opposed to a 40% increase on a 5-day collection option. And as Sarah pointed out, that gives us the ability during these inclement weathers to catch up, so that we would have basically 2 extra days. Where right now, if we fall behind a day, it rolls into the next week. And so then the whole entire next week is behind another day too. And so that's just, it's a lot of phone calls. It's a lot of misses. It's a lot of reporting. It hits every resident throughout the entire city for like 2 weeks because they're behind a day. And so the 4-day option, it mitigates that, but it's more expensive to do that because you have to have more trucks and more drivers in here on a daily basis. Instead of having 10 trucks a day, you have to have 12 or 13 trucks a day.
So what was the escalator in each of it? Were they pretty much the same, CPI plus 5 or CPI plus 2? What was that?
We specified it, and actually that's part of the reason why we have so many the spotty bids, where not everyone bid all of the options.
Right.
A lot of times with the trash contract, those will be put out as proposals. and they'll seek proposals, and then they will specify what their service level will be and things like that. Whereas, we wanted to have a little bit more of a say in what our service level would be and see what those prices.
So what
came
did
in at.
we specify the CPI would be?
2.5.
2.5 plus CPI
No, 2.5%
percent
annually.
annually.
And then they had the option, if they were not in agreement with that, to submit as an alternate escalator.
How many
which-
of them submitted an alternate?
Just one.
Just one. So most of the bidders were acceptable to the 2.5%.
Yes. They just adjusted their pricing.
One of the things in the workshop I hope that we can have is a if not a review, at least in front of us, a summary of the survey that we did, that Casey did. So if you can have that so that we can kind of see, what did customers expect and what does the price look like?
That's the first slides are
Okay.
the survey. Yes,
You
sir.
beat me to it. So, Mr. Chairman, you've been around here a lot longer. I'm going to look to your wisdom on
This
this.
could be a problem.
Where we go, because I know the last time when we cut from 2 to 1,
Right.
it created a firestorm. So I hope that you'll help us use all the wisdom that you have and help us guide us in this process.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I genuinely do. I have been through a lot of contracts over the years. It's one I'm not sure that with us having the workshop, it would be unjust, I think. This is just my opinion, for the committee to make the decision. If you think wrong, if you disagree with me, just say I disagree with you. I'm not gonna, I respect that. But I think with everybody,
Let somebody else come in here.
okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
You got it, no problem. I don't think since we've seen this right now, I think it would be unwise for the committee to make that decision, since we're going to be addressing it
I
tomorrow.
agree.
So do you all agree with that?
I agree.
Thank you.
It'd be premature.
Right, it would be.
It's a lot of information to go through.
And
It
this-
is.
And this doesn't include the, what's it called? The where you dump it, does it? This doesn't include that cost.
That's right.
Do we have an estimate of what that's gonna cost?
We have an existing contract for that. So
It
yes.
overlaps. The contract overlaps this one.
Yes. Yeah. They're completely separate.
Okay, I was gonna ask the mayor hey, you can come on in if you need to. Do we have another chair?
here.
I think Jamie gave his up.
I'd rather her sit here than
Yeah,
Jack.
come on in here.
I didn't want to know that.
No, not at all. Glad to see you. What we're doing, we were talking about the trash beds is what we were talking about and continue to do. Well, the main thing we're going to be asked as aldermen, is what was and you may want to wait till tomorrow to tell us, and I don't have a problem with that. The lowest bid, because that's what people are going to ask us first. Or can you, with how we did it, with the options of we may not be able to know right now, or can you tell?
No, we can tell which was the lowest.
Okay.
So
These represent the low bid, don't they?
they do. The absolute lowest for year one
Right.
would be once a week curbside with limited bulk. So it's 2 items. And that would be a 17% increase from what we're paying right now. But it's a different escalator. So instead of the 2.5%,
Yeah.
it would be a 5% escalator. So there's, I think it was right around year 5, it actually becomes more expensive. And then outside of under the 2.5% escalator, the lowest is the once a week curbside with limited bulk, which is again 2 items per week.
Okay.
That's at 36%.
So,
Yeah, I'll see that. Yeah.
so the cheaper, it's gonna hit us harder in the long run.
Yes.
Right, that's, yeah.
So I guess what I would like to be able to see is the cost year one and the cost year 5.
Okay.
The range,
Mhm.
so that we know what to expect
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
As
that's
Scarlett,
fine.
as Scarlett would say. So,
Best value.
Well, it makes sense. You don't want to know what I mean, actually it does. To know what we're gonna pay up now as opposed to 5 years from now, what's it gonna be? Okay. Were there any problems with the bidders? I mean, did they call and have any questions? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we received questions. We issued addenda. We had 2 pre-bid meetings. 3 of the 4 bidders are present. If you had any questions for them.
Okay.
directly.
I didn't. Obviously, I know one. And platform, I was gonna ask about platform. I had never heard of platform in a while. No disrespect to you. I just didn't know. And then I was gonna say, but Republic, okay. And I know you guys. Okay. Well, let me think here. We've seen so much of this tonight, and I know it's going rather slow because I'm trying to think of all the processes over the years that I've been through. We won't make a decision tonight. Let me ask you this about tomorrow night. Are we going to make a decision tomorrow night in the workshop?
I think tomorrow it'd be good to kind of determine what the base level of service is and what looks like a good level of service for the residents. And then based on that, really dive into, okay, based on these level of services, we go out and we compare each one of the different bidders and see how they stack up at that level. There's some levels of service that some bidders did not bid on.
Right.
Unlimited bulk is one of them. So if we definitely wanted unlimited bulk, then there's some bidders who didn't bid on it, so they wouldn't be an option for it.
Okay. Did we also include, as far as the pickup, our senior citizens? Obviously, there are some, like my mother, she can't do it. She would love to, and I wish to God she could go up to the street. But our current waste pickup people take care of it. We do. I come over there and have it, ready for the people to come to get all her stuff. But she tries to get it. She can not really move as well. And my sister's the same way. And so they get it all together and they put it close, but not close, So is that going to be included in the
Yeah, Sarah
contract?
put together, I think, 2%. There's a 2% of the population based on a medical exemption that without any additional charge, they get picked up backdoor. And then what we did ask is an add-on service. So anyone who has backdoor who wants to continue to get it, even if the city doesn't subscribe to it as a whole, we ask for the vendors to bid it so that the resident can work directly with the vendor to add that service on
Okay.
if they choose so.
All right. Because I think our wards are probably the ones with a lot of senior citizens in it, probably. Older homeowners.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because we'll be asked about that too, at least in our districts. How about you, Eddie?
no, a lot of the Wessington area is there are some older homes
that
there.
is true. Yeah.
But a lot of Ward 6 are the Durham, the Autumn Creeks, the Drake's Point. A lot of those, they take it to the curb. So
Okay. Is there anything that you want us to do tonight that we need to make a decision on for the Board of Mayor and Alderman tonight to let them know, or just anything at all that you would like for us to do? I'm putting you on the spot, and
No, you're fine. I would just say unless there's any other information like the 1 year versus the 5 year costs, things like that, that you would really like additional explanation or
Yeah.
information on.
That's a definitely must, and I'm glad you brought that up, Eddie, on that.
If there's anything like that, I mean, I'm actually have already run that, so I'll have it available. But if there's anything else that maybe I hadn't thought of,
What about sharing your notes with us? That little summary.
sure.
We'd really hope to have the workshop first to kind of flesh.
Yeah, I
this
know.
out,
It
but
would've-
obviously
it would've-
rather-
Because it may be, after they make their decision, it's probably gonna have to come back, maybe here with a special meeting just for the record to approve
I
or
mean,
disapprove.
And I think there's some budgetary constraints, and we start getting into options that are 143% greater, 300% greater. We can't float them.
Right.
So almost by process of elimination, I think option A, B, and C are really going to be the ones that we have to zone in on.
Yeah.
I mean, even option C adds an additional $2.6 million to what we're already paying. So outside of some new type of revenue source, I think we're kind of constrained to just really look at those options and see how we work within those options.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some of this stuff and there's just, as far as the city goes, there's no way that, we can do that. And, but I agree with that statement. But we'll still take a look at it. Does anyone have any other questions that's in the room? Do you all have any questions on it at all? I'm sorry, I apologize. I couldn't see you like that. All right.
I did like you talking through it because a lot of folks in the community think you just pick up a phone and you can have a vendor provide that service. And it's very difficult.
It's different. I know.
And this kind of explains it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I know, I mean, I was, I know this is, my life must be very boring because I was sitting there in my bed last night thinking about the trash contract and I was going like, the first person that I ever did a contract with was Bobby Freudenthal, God rest his soul. And we went in his room, it was at the old building and we spent hours on it, and our city was nothing like it is today. I mean, it just wasn't. And I was going like, God, not only do I miss him because he was very fine public works director. But and it was going and it was new to him. It was new to all of us, So but it is a process and I'm glad that you have said that because people don't understand sometimes when you do a bid as big as this is, because this is one of the biggest things in the city of Hendersonville in public works, besides, the main drainage and paving and things like that. But this is a big one. And so I guess what we'll do, should we make a recommendation to ask the board to look at A, B, and C, you think? I mean, would that, or just keep it as is? And, they'll still be able to look at D through J, but to have an emphasis to look at A, B, and C, that was our recommendation or not. I don't know. I mean, I'm asking the committee on that, or do you just want to leave it alone?
Leave it alone.
Okay.
I think the numbers speak for themselves.
They
And,
do.
Once we come up with a plan, we'll call it the Skidmore plan.
Oh my God.
Call it the Skidmore plan.
No, oh my Lord, no way.
So
You're really wanting to see me get beat. That's what it is.
real quick, I want to say that Sarah and Jesse sent us bids and the bid tabs and all the information, and you can tell how much work went into
Yes.
what they did. And
Yes.
so
Yeah, I really do appreciate this because actually, to be honest with you, this is the first in depth that we've had this much information. It was almost too much information, really.
that was the biggest bid tab I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was good, but I'm glad we did, and
Yeah.
we need to continue that.
Sarah's done a tremendous amount of work, but probably put us in a position to really make some good decisions and to give residents the option to add on services if they want them as well.
Good deal. Well, thank you, Sarah. You really did do a good job, and that's just not, politicians have a lot, and they go and they thank everybody, including the baby down the street, but I genuinely appreciate your work.
Thank
It
you.
was remarkable, and the information was good. We really needed that. And Jesse, and as you were, you're doing a wonderful job, and
We'll have the survey as well too, which is
right.
I mean,
I think
that's so key to have that. We had, I think, over almost 2,000 residents.
It's been so long and now.
I think it was about 2,000.
Yeah, it was over that,
residents,
I think.
and
Yeah.
so we got really good feedback on the survey as well. So I think all the pieces kind of working together. We'll go over that tomorrow.
good. Thank you. That makes me feel good that we have that many people letting us know how they feel, because that'll be a good percentage overall in this city to look at. All right. So what we'll do, we're just not going to make any recommendation right now. We will forward this on for tomorrow's meeting, which starts at what time's your committee?
4 o'clock, so I think workshop's at 5:30.
5:30. We're going to be meeting again at 5:30 as a board. After tonight's meeting, we'll be meeting tomorrow. And then we've got capital projects at 4.
And we're gonna hear all the good news about Exit 8, the grant tomorrow night.
Can't wait. So cannot wait for that. That is exciting news, and I'll tell everybody we'll eat my humble pie, because and I don't mind doing it. And
Well, we haven't got the check yet.
that's what I was going to say. We'll see.
Problem, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we'll hear all about that.
Yes.
So, okay, let's move on. Let me get back to the agenda. So what we'll do is we're going to be meeting tomorrow. Everybody, we're going to be meeting tomorrow at City Hall at 5:30 to go over, and it'll be a full board meeting. All the aldermen will be in attendance, I'm sure, to go over this, and then they'll probably make a recommendation on what is going to do. So that's what we'll do. So, and then it may or may not come back here. And if the board wants it to come back here, then we'll have a special call meeting, and with that only discussed.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll expedite it
Right.
for both.
appreciate it. Okay, good deal. All right, let's go on to the agenda. Let me get to it. Park maintenance shop update.
Exciting stuff. Not as exciting as the trash.
Well, I know I'm excited about it, so
I gave you all a packet that's at your table there. That's a lot of the bulk of it is reports that we got and our air quality reports. So
okay.
I don't want to think you got to be reading all that right now. I'll kind of point out some highlights and tell you where I think we are, and Jesse and Sarah can fill in my blanks or correct me or add on. Trevor Cole is here back in the corner off camera. He's our parks maintenance superintendent, and he really did a lot of work to help me get some of these things together. So I appreciate that. And before I say anything, I want to thank these two people sitting here, Sarah and Jesse, for putting up with me constantly trying to get things done probably faster than we normally would do things, and asking for things to be done. And Rick with Sarah's staff. So, basically page 1 of the packet I gave you talks about the history of the building. It's a 50-year-old building. I put in there is built by then Parks Maintenance Superintendent Bob Bush, who you might know as the father of our fire chief. It's been underwater in 2010. Probably should have been moved then. Choice was made to not. Back going beyond that, that one of the bullet points I put in there, if you can see, FY20 is about the time I started as parks director. Our maintenance budget for all our buildings in every park, which includes concession stands, shelters, restrooms, offices, shop areas, was $17,500. Jesse and the mayor have really listened to me the last couple of years, and we've not astronomically increased it, but we've gotten it up to 50,000 a year to take care of every park building, maintenance wise. But just for reference, the police budget for maintenance of buildings is 44,500, and we got a lot more park buildings than they got police buildings. Good for them. I'm glad for
Yeah,
them.
no.
But we can't come in and just increase the parks budget 100% to get it to where it really probably needs to be. You all know that. I know that from sitting where you sat. But I just wanted to provide that as kind of a point of reference. Our priority has always been fix the things that the public's going to be using. And I think that's probably said for every department. There's probably things at the police and fire that get put aside because we need to fix things that the public's going to use. So that's just point of reference. March of 2023, we had an air quality issue brought to our attention. We jumped right on that with Trevor and Jesse and HR and Sarah and everybody working together to try to figure out what we needed to do. We did an air sample test. It came back elevated, but not to the point where we had to get out of the building.
Right.
We had another one in September 2023. It was much higher elevation numbers, and we did get out of the building. In the process of that, we began looking at things remediation wise that were suggested, like putting in a new roof, putting in HVAC, remediation and renovation. What would we need to do to get it back to where we could go back in the building?
What's the size of the building?
Less than 10,000 square feet.
So
You're talking about two or three basic areas that
so
are
10
enclosed.
by or 20 by 50 or
Trevor.
30 by 90.
30 by 90. Okay.
Mhm.
And is it primarily used for break area?
A break area and a mechanic shop.
There's work done.
and equipment storage also, where people do have work areas. So like during the winter, if we've got a woodworking project, we put people in there like a garage to work in. September, elevated levels. We got everybody out, started looking at options. November, we came back with Frost, a different company, did another air quality test. And at that time, they said the air quality was acceptable levels. So we, out of precaution again, decided we would come in and take wall samples. The wall samples came back acceptable again. In the process of looking at things that we could do to get our guys back in the building, which my hope was that we'd be back in there right now. One of the things that we did was get estimates for remediation and repair. One of the first estimate that we got back on that, and if you look on next to last page, page 47, 4 paragraphs down. This was not something we were looking for, to be honest, because the guys came in and they said, all of your electrical is out of code. If we're going to come in here and do this work, we got to get the electrical done right. $112,975 just to get it to code. So after we knew the air quality was good, I had Greg Story come in and evaluate the building. If you look on page 45 and 46, you'll see Greg's report, our codes director. And before I say anything about this, before we got this report back, Jesse came down with the HR department and met with all of our staff and our maintenance guys. And those meetings are not easy sometimes because they had a lot of questions, especially when you start bringing up air quality and safe working conditions. And our mechanic's 26, 27 years old. And for me to sit in that meeting and watch him tear up talking about his grandfather that ended up with respiratory problems from working in mechanic shops, that hit a note with me. To hear Andy Griffin, our part-time maintenance worker who coached at Hendersonville High School for 30 years, say that he never had to be on any kind of respiratory problems until he came to work at the park. And now he has to use an inhaler. That hit home with me.
Yeah.
But the air quality problem, I think we were addressing. Then we get this report on page 45, and I see in red ink that I didn't put this on there. Greg put it on there. Electrical and structural life safety. Well, me for one, I'm not putting people back in that building until we get that addressed. I don't know exactly what we have to do to get that addressed, other than point to the first estimate that we got to get electrical up to codes. I've sent that scope of work to Sarah and Rick to have them kind of find somebody to get a second estimate on just that part. So beyond that, for right now, I can't, unless somebody directs me otherwise, the mayor or Jesse, I'm not gonna put our guys back in there. I mean, one of those things is a transformer that gets wet. I mean, Trevor can tell you when it rains heavy, he tells all the guys get out of the shop.
Yeah.
Where are they doing the work? Where's your shop now if they're not in?
We're in 4 different places. Our mechanic is in the soccer maintenance building, which they're about to be back in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. We have a restroom building that has a break room in it next to the soccer fields.
Okay.
I mean, we're in 4 different
And
places.
where do they break? Where do
In
the
4 different
employees break?
places.
Is the building, the house at Heritage Park any use?
Well, as we had an offer for somebody to come lease that building, we found out it's not up to commercial code, and it needs a new roof and several things.
Okay. So what's the bottom line?
Bottom line, just, after we met, I think we were tasked with three things, and they're on page 5 and 6. Option, I want to, it's not really option as much as it is, these were our tasks. First task, a plan to renovate and repair the current maintenance shop as if it were to remain in its current and original location for long-term future. And then I list out all the things that would need to be done if we're going to put employees back in there safely. And then I don't know what the cost of that is totally. I know one estimate, and it's in the back. It's in this packet. It's expensive, a lot, like $400,000 or $500,000 a lot. Second option, we were tasked with provide a plan that would temporarily relocate our parks operations in an area that would allow our staff to gather in a clean, safe, work-friendly environment while not interfering with other operations in the parks. So on page 4 there, you can kind of see we have a building that's in our maintenance shop area. The picture at the bottom of page 4, the building at the bottom, in the center bottom, is the building that's at the top. It was built in 2017. And it can be enclosed and put insulation in and HVAC. And, I don't know exactly what the cost of that is. I've asked for an estimate from the barn store to come in and enclose it. And then we'll have to get an estimate for interior, but I would say that'd be less than $150,000 to get our guys in there for however long they had to be in there until we figure out something permanent.
But the present location, is there a way to keep it from flooding?
It's in
No.
the floodway.
It's in the floodway. We can do, and Sarah and those and Trace and Benchmark have started looking at ways to divert water that's there every day. But in terms of, are we just sitting there waiting for another flood event? Yes.
Okay.
Same thing with this temporary location. It's in the same spot. It would not flood on a regular rain like we're going to have this week.
Do we have a location at Drake's Creek where we could do
That was our third.
option 1? Okay.
That was our third task.
I'm sorry.
On page 5, up on the hill. And I will say, I wasn't here, and none of us really were knowledgeable about what all was going on in 2010, but I'm pretty well sure it was recommended in 2010 to move it up here then. And for whatever reason, that just didn't happen. Sarah's about to get new FEMA maps put out. I don't think this is in any kind of flood area like we're in now back here. There would be some site work that would have to do. One big question would be, right now we're in a metal building. Is the city going to allow the city to build a metal building? That's a question. Because if you don't, it's going to dramatically increase the cost. We were able to rebuild the cart barn at the golf course because we didn't change the footprint. And here we'd be definitely going to a new footprint.
So it's estimated from 300 to $1 million,
I mean, it could be,
or even more than that.
I do not think it would be more than that. I don't. I think $1 million is high. We basically need 2 enclosed, insulated, ventilated areas, a mechanics area and a break room. Beyond that, those other areas just need to be able to cover the equipment, keep it out of the rain. Kind of like this one's doing now on page 4. You can see we got things back in there that it's just covering the equipment. And the space here in green you see on page 5 represents honestly, it doesn't look like it because of the way the pictures are sized and zoomed in, but it's a larger area than we're currently in. If we were to be able to move up on the hill there, that would open up this entire area, potentially a parking lot area. The question's already been asked of finance. Could lodging tax money be used for the building? We don't think so. Could it be used to potentially create this parking lot? Probably so. But we don't really have any hotel tax money sitting around this year's budget.
Is that opinion a legal opinion,
I think
or
it's
is it a staff opinion?
That's a finance department opinion.
I think it's a pretty solid opinion, because if we are to make that for parking, that would increase the amount of tourism we can have. So there would be 2 projects. One would be a maintenance shop and one would be a park enhancement for parking. And I think that squarely fits within the definition.
I just don't know how we're gonna pay for all this without some kind of increase. Garbage with this, and it's needed. I mean, the building is wet, it's dirty, it's unsafe. So,
I think for almost, I'm not 100% sure of this, and I wouldn't swear to it, but I think for almost the amount we would have to pay to get the electrical up to codes, we could do this temporary option to enclose this other building and build it out on the inside. It's going to be close. So I don't, I was sat where y'all sat when the fire hall 2 got condemned.
Yeah.
And we had to build a new one. And I remember sitting up there, and I never saw anything like this that laid it out. I just knew it was condemned, and I better vote right now to build a new fire hall.
Right. I think we all did.
We've worked really honestly between the 3 or 4 or 5 of us. This is almost a year.
it's a good document.
And we've tried to do everything I think we could to move back in there. That's really all I have. Y'all can add to or subtract. I think I put in an email to the mayor and Jesse. This is not something that any of us asked for at all, nor do I think it could have been prevented. This was going to happen at some point. It was just a matter of time.
But Andy, a lot of your buildings, a lot of our buildings at the city have reached their age.
Yes.
I mean, they've reached their maximum age and they have deteriorated, they're unsafe. And so it's going to require, not only for this building, but this is something, Jesse, that we're going to have to be looking at constantly because our infrastructure is old and deteriorating.
Correct.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
And if you ask me right now, what do we do next? I don't know what the answer to that is. I think there are some things that we can look at. There's a couple of things I can think of in the mid-year budget we might can look at that wouldn't even get into the general fund much. But I don't think we're ready to talk about that right this minute. I don't know if y'all direction-wise what you would want us to do next even.
I would add to that as well. I think from a long-term planning perspective, that park gets a lot of use. And if you've ever tried to park there, parking is prime real estate anytime there's a tournament. So, irrespective of the building, the maintenance shop location right along the main drag when you drive into the parks, I think in a long-term plan, it would be better suited for some other type of use, potentially parking. So that is something to think about in addition to, whatever kind of decision that we come to on this property, is that there may be some benefit to moving it, not for parks maintenance, but for residents, where there's more than just a building involved.
Yeah. One thing I put in here is in terms of relocating it, what I've learned, and I'm not very smart, but every project we've done, when we've had the construction documents done ahead of time, it has helped us estimate the cost greatly for budgeting purposes. And paying, allocating that money a little bit up front to get to where we then know how to estimate long-term has helped greatly and been pretty accurate. The times when we've just said, can you give us an estimate and let's put a bid out, has been disastrous. So I would say if we end up looking at relocating it, I think it would benefit us to figure out a way to get the design and documents done before we even figure out how much money
What
we're
we're
going
gonna
to
do,
talk about.
yeah.
Well, everything will be extremely clear after March the 5th, what we have to do after the election. It will be extremely clear after that of what we're faced with, I think.
I agree with you. That would help greatly if that passes.
We'd be able to cover all this
It would help greatly.
needed infrastructure.
But when it comes also to giving your employees good working conditions where they can all gather under one roof, I think you heard Jesse heard that the most out of all the guys. I hadn't heard them talk like that in a long time, where they just basically said, we just want to be able to get together. And it's not even for 10 minutes. Start your day, eat your lunch. Some of them are there more than they're at home, especially during the summer. There's a lot of them that come in at 6 o'clock, clock out at 2:30 and come back on Friday night and work till 1 o'clock and then come back at 6 on Saturday. I've seen this man right here spend the night on a table in the break room because he got done working on ball fields at midnight and had to be up at 6. And I walked in at midnight, scared me to death.
Well, to be continued, right, Mark?
Yes, sir. I was gonna say, but I agree with where the shop to where it is now. There's no way. I mean, we got to do something with that. I'm not in favor of putting the money there because I've been over there to look at it, and I've been over there more than once, believe it or not, and well, what we'll have to do, does anybody have any other questions on it?
Do we have assessments on all the properties that are in your portfolio?
In terms of structural and all that
Yeah,
things.
like 1, 2, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, but we can sure get it. I think that'd be a good long-term planning tool to have in our toolkit. I know Rick is working on that some with Public Works to get those.
Yeah, so we would have some kind of line item in our budgets where we could plan for this stuff. In the short term, would it be reasonable to rent a modular office kind of building that they could use?
We
until
looked at
figure it
that.
out?
I mean, to get one that we needed would basically be 25,000 setup and delivery and takeaway cost, and then another 2,500 a month. But that does not address the mechanic shop. That's the hardest part of all.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
we could get we could put 2 portable classrooms together in a modular office and have a break room. But the mechanic shop is a tough one.
Gotcha.
We've searched and I've not been able to find like a modular auto mechanic building.
Okay.
In closing, that one right there would temporarily give us more space than we have now for our mechanic and a break room. But I think our job now is maybe to just keep bringing information.
Well, I think that's the only thing now until we figure out where we are.
Yes, sir.
I think that's probably about 60 days away or something like that.
This is a great report.
Yeah, just a lot of work.
I appreciate, like I said, Sarah and Jesse and Rick putting up with all my emails and calls and concerns.
Well, it's good and thorough because it has all the questions or the answers to the questions that you have so far. But I'm gonna look at it again. I'll tell you that. May even be tonight. Just depends how far this,
You can think about this and sitting in the bed instead of the trash tonight.
yeah. True. People don't realize what we,
Can't get your
as
mind
all
off
of it
it.
does. Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's like, I don't know how y'all are, but when I get home at night, I can't go like to sleep just like that. You know, it's like sometimes 2 and 3 in the morning. Then I finally will doze off and then I get up, you know. But it's like that, you know, you get up and like, God, are y'all like that too?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
And people don't understand that.
Got to get these BOMA meetings done so we can get home.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Well, okay, let's get us an idea of when do we need to address this again or take a look at it?
You know, I hope to have a lot more information to you next month.
Okay, let's put it back on the agenda then for next month, just to kind of keep us in the loop of what's going on.
Yes,
And,
sir.
And in the meantime, we'll kind of start talking to the Board of Mayor and Alderman of what we've got. You know, of course, I won't do it, all of it tonight or anything like that. Because this is a lot. to
And I have
go
that
over.
I have this in an email I can email out to the whole board, or
I
I
would,
can wait.
yeah, I would do that. Email it to them and kind of tell them what's coming on, you know, because this is important.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
gonna have to go to finance. I've got a resolution that I need to address.
Oh,
It's
okay.
first on the agenda.
All
I'm
right.
wondering, because I do want to be here when we talk about the roundabout.
You want me to
could-
put it, you want me to put it last?
Yeah, if that,
Okay, sure.
that way I'm sure I could be back. And I think that we had maybe someone that would like to address that.
All right, great.
Tim Jones is here. He came in late, but I think he wants to address that issue as well. So I'll be back
Okay, I'm gonna put this down.
directly.
I'm gonna put that the very, very last. Okay. Okay, so we've got we're gonna go ahead and put that back on the agenda for next time. Next month, rather, instead of next time.
I guess no one cares about Hope.
No,
I do.
We're not the glamorous ones.
yeah, I wonder what, hey, Will, how are you? It's good to see you. All right. Do what now? Oh, that's all right. What's on the agenda for finance? We'll know soon enough. Now we're on to, and I thank you for this, the Harbor Town history. Yes,
Yes.
thank you very much for that.
So, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's not really
Well,
good
no.
news. We don't have a bond
Okay,
for paving
All
in
right.
Harbor Town, but I did work with cleaning and research the history of that. And
Okay.
it looks like they were all released in either the late 90s or early 2000s.
well, I sort of had an idea that was the case, but I was asked for it.
Sure.
And so I will let Mr. Spindler know about that. It was released in the 90s.
Late 90s to early 2000s.
Okay. Because I know some of I was trying to think when it was paved last. And I don't know, do you all have that information?
I've been going through, we did not have that information, but I've been going through and kind of compiling the data that we have known, and then also going through areas for different time frames on Google Earth,
Right.
historical views,
Okay.
and trying to catalog when it looks like some of the roads were paved. Some of them are extremely old.
Yeah.
I can't remember this one specifically. Some of them weren't paved, and I think it was 1994 when the Google Earth view was first like somewhat clear with black and white, but you could discern. We have many roads that were not paved
Yeah.
since that time. So I'm not positive if this is one of those or not.
Okay. I can look into my archives too in the garage. So, I've got it on one side that I can look and see, but but my feeling is they haven't, or at least some of them. There might be like a cul-de-sac here and a cul-de-sac there, and I know sometimes that the water department had to go back through, or the Hendersonville Utility District rather had to go in and pave some of it because they had pipes burst and that kind of thing. So, but thank you for that, and I will let Mr. Spindler and Harbortown know about that. And then I'll talk to him about it to see whether we need to let their homeowners, because I think it was at a homeowners association meeting when it was asked, and no one knew, you know what? And so I'll get with him, and if there's anything else. But thank you for bringing me that. That was the old. What was our fire chief's name before Bush?
Steele.
Yeah, Chief Steele. That was his family's. Part of that area was his. That was a part of his farm, or their farm, the old Steele property. And when I was a child, we used to build army huts back there where Harbortown is. Army, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I'm starting to show my age. Maybe they don't do that. They just do computer games now. But we stayed a lot outside. That was a good thing. Okay, well, thank you very much. Didn't mean to get off on that. Let's go to the telecom update.
So we contacted AT&T, Verizon, and attempted communications with T-Mobile through the tornado event.
Yes.
AT&T stated that they were prepared for it. They were watching it. They did have some damage, but they had enough redundancy in their network to where they had adequate coverage and recovered very quickly.
Okay.
Verizon said that they did not experience any network issues that they had. They were also watching it. They had mobile towers and things like that all ready to go in the event that those were needed, but they did not have to utilize any of that. T-Mobile was very challenging to get in contact with. The only information I was able to get was that they have several outstanding tickets for December 10th, the day after the tornado, that are open, and they would not give me information regarding what they were for or when they would be fixed or addressed. So it's limited. And I personally have T-Mobile, and I'm still having network issues. So.
Are you really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's only bad in Hendersonville. I'm fine when I get out of Hendersonville.
Yep.
Did you say Verizon had any?
I'm sorry.
Did you say Verizon had any?
No, they were good. Yeah, they were very.
They're
Yeah.
just overwhelmed.
Yeah, AT&T was okay with me. They when we didn't have any power, that was the only thing that was going for a while, and then I'd have to charge it up in my car.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Well, when you live with two demanding women, you got to think of everything. So, Mom and my sister, if you don't do it right, they'll make sure you do it right. So, which is not a problem. I've lived with it most of my life. Okay, let's go with our wonderful. We're going to talk about Saundersville Road in just a second, the roundabout. So we're going to put that bottom. Let's go to the light synchronization update.
So that project is essentially complete. It's definitely substantially complete. We are doing the final testing on January 30th for the fiber system and the connection to City Hall. It was scheduled for earlier, but then had some things going on with the weather, of course. Yeah. And, so we've postponed that a little bit, but it is essentially complete.
All right. How do you feel about it so far? I mean,
Good.
Good.
Yeah. They, the contractor's been very good to work with. Their sub for the fiber was, IT had commented that they were very good to work with. So.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. So we've got it's basically complete. We got a testing on January 30th, final testing. The holdup was the weather. Okay, I got that. All right. Saunders Ferry or Sanders Ferry.
What is the right way to
It'll
say
always
that?
be Saunders. You know,
Saunders?
there's been a debate on that.
All right.
So, a historical debate.
I always seem to get it wrong.
I
Well-
don't answer those questions.
Do I?
I don't answer those questions.
Sanders or Saunders? Maybe I'll ask the board tonight what their feeling is. So, Saunders Ferry Greenway update. Go ahead. What's that?
That project is also substantially complete now. We have some outstanding punch list items that we're working through.
Yeah.
The bollards are going to be installed. We were waiting on some locks, things like that, tidying up loose ends. And then once we get that project closer to actual completion, I'll be coordinating with the contractor to obtain an estimate for the changing out that 400-foot section to the cable
Oh,
For the
yes,
horizontal
the bridge.
members. So we'll be looking at that after we get this project complete. But it is wrapping up.
Wire on the bridge. Okay. All right. Well,
What did you say about the wire of the bridge?
The 400-foot section that's elevated.
That's when you get the wire.
When we discussed here, we were asked to investigate the cost and the feasibility of changing out the horizontal members with the cable.
now, since we're waiting on Eddie, let me ask you some questions that I'm really interested in. How did it work with the snow this time? So what was the procedure? Did we lay down some salt? Of course, the salt would have been not good. It would have been useless to put it out.
Yeah.
That it was so cold there.
So we, the rock salt isn't really effective until after there's some
Right.
accumulation.
Right.
We don't use the brine, the calcium chloride. The state puts that down as like a pre-event
Right.
measure, but it's really hard on the asphalt. Increases deterioration. So we haven't used it historically, and on equipment. So once we started seeing accumulation, crews were ready to go. They were here already. They started salting roads and then, plowing. But like you said, if the temperatures are not above 15 degrees, the salt
Right.
does not work.
It's not feasible.
doesn't do
for-
anything.
Right.
And so then once you start getting accumulation with the salt and people are driving on it, it compacts into the ice and it gets much more difficult to deal with. So-
Okay.
Did you get a complaint?
On what? The salt?
The salt? No.
It was requested.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I had no complaint on it.
Right. So she's absolutely right.
Yeah.
If you put that brine down on asphalt, you're not going to have very good roads anymore.
No, because it eats it up or
That's right.
something. So,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of brine.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had a former public works director. We got it. We just had a big debate about it. And I said, show me, that I'm wrong. And they couldn't, on that because I'm not a big fan of brine. Well, that's good. I know that it was real cold and all of a sudden, boom, it just started warming up. So we were blessed with that. But I know that it was bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Events like this, thankfully, are pretty rare for this.
and most
area.
people understand it. Excuse me.
I heard
Most
that
people-
we got more snowfall here than that has been here like in what, 15, 20 years?
Probably so.
Seems right.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm gonna
we get a
say-
tornado, we get a snowpocalypse, we get.
We had 2 events.
Windstorm.
I was gonna say
Yeah, the
2
windstorm?
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
or something like
It was
that.
like
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
one of the first years we were here, and it wasn't but it was spread, and then it was like 45 and sunny.
Yeah.
So it didn't have nearly
Yeah.
the
Well, the thing I like about it is that about this city that has always impressed me. we always take care of each other. You know, when there's things like this that happens, we call or now text, but I'm a lot of times call and make sure everybody's okay, you know, around where you live or people that you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, and most people do that, you know, well, if you need anything, I'm going to the store, you know, I'll pick up something for you. But, and those kind of things happen within our community, and I'm grateful for it. But, yeah, this last ice and snow was crazy. But it has been a long time. I think, you know, I remember one time we didn't go to school one time for about 2 weeks,
Oh, well.
one time. And that was the last one that I can remember that was really bad, you know.
This one's a week and a half.
Is that when the schools?
They haven't gone back yet, you know.
Oh,
Tomorrow will be
Tomorrow.
the first day.
Price.
Well, it's been that way.
Man, when you got kids, the first 2 days of the snow is fun, and man, you are out there sledding. And then after that, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Come on, 75-degree weather.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether we'll have another snow this year, but my feeling is, I said we would snow in January. I won that one. I said we're not going to have any snow until January, and it happened. And I think I'm going to say that I don't think we're going to have another snow because it's almost the end of January now. Now sometimes we have them in March. We've had them in March and even April. So, but I don't know whether we'll
Don't
have
jinx
one.
us.
I know, knock on wood. Let's see if there's anything else, and I hate to, but they're in there talking about it.
Are we still on?
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
Till he adjourns.
I didn't even know that. Well, I'm not adjourning until he gets back, you know, unless I have to. Time constraint. So,
Could that just be bumped to the next agenda?
what do you have?
Nothing.
Can we talk about her website?
Yes.
That thing is awesome.
Thank you.
I was just learning how to do the
old
website before you changed it.
I'm sorry.
But no, I like it. I'm glad because I like it because you can go right to the stuff now.
Yeah.
To your agenda and to Public Works agenda. That website's great. I like it a lot. So
Thank you.
It's got calendar. You look at the
Yeah.
whole month, week, day, total.
I like that.
Very intuitive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Easy to navigate.
The best part's the mobile version because it was really bad before.
Oh.
I haven't checked it out.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Way
What do you
better.
mean there's a mobile version? What's that mean?
Just
When you
pull it up on
Pull
your
it up
phone.
on your phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have that. I can assure you of that. Yeah. Have we had, you know, in a way, this is kind of good that he's out.
Let's talk about it.
Well, I don't have much to say. Anyway,
Lord, I apologize.
It's on.
he's laughing too.
No.
When do we start looking at drainage in City of Hendersonville? Because I'm going to be asked that question one day.
Oh, we look at it
All the time?
all
Or-
the time.
okay.
We have a running list.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes.
The reason I say that is there's a gentleman on Gaytone Drive, Mr. Smith, that know him well. He's a real fine person. I'll have to call you with his box number, but he and their neighbor, it still floods down there. And I drove by and looked, and I failed to take a picture, but the water does get in the front yard of his neighbor.
Okay.
So, did you leave finance?
Yeah, I was coming to check to see where you were in this because Eddie still hasn't spoken in there yet. And I was like, they've got to be. getting close.
We're waiting on
Waiting
it.
on Eddie.
Yeah.
He hasn't even presented. Is he reading the resolution?
I don't know what he's doing in finance. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, he has a resolution.
Do you
I thought he
know
said
what
he
it
had to read the
is?
resolution.
Yes. Let me tell you because I have the agenda pulled up right here.
If you call a break, I can mute it, but not till then. They sounded like they were almost done
Okay.
with
It was
this section they
resolution.
were on, and I think he's supposed to speak right after it.
Yeah, it was 2024-05. The freeze property taxes for a period of 4 years upon voter approval of the referendum to increase local option sales tax. So it was that second.
That's what they're talking about right now. He just didn't read it yet.
Those will be long discussions.
I could just lean over and tell them they're ready whenever you are, and maybe they'll prompt him to push them,
Yeah, you could, yeah.
if y'all want me to.
Yes,
I don't mind doing that.
Good, you go right on ahead
I'm
there.
nobody, don't
Shall I
want me to
to
do it.
call
I'll
him?
do it.
Break, maybe while.
I would say
Wait.
county commissioner, you go right on ahead, sir, and do that.
I'm not doing that.
Oh, my
I'm
gosh.
not pulling that
Um,
card.
Let's take, you want to take a break right quick until it comes back? All right, we'll go ahead and reconvene on our break. And we're talking about the roundabout. And go ahead with you and
Yeah, we have a county commissioner with
Okay.
us, Tim, and Tim sent me a lot. He's done a lot of work on this. If it'd be okay, I'd like to suspend the rules and let him speak on
Sure.
this matter because he's done a lot of research, taken videos that we've shared with the staff, and if it'd be okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and Tim, would you like to speak?
Sure, yeah. Tim Jones, 112 Georgetown Drive here in Hendersonville. So that's right in my district, and I go through that area every day, multiple times a day. My wife does too. And what I've noticed in the time that we've been going through there, that when it works great. When it doesn't work, it's awful. There was a lot of improvement made when you guys added the extra lane there. I was hoping that was done at the developer's expense because that gave more room for people to stage up for that red light at Indian Lake after going through the circle, coming from the Wessington Place, Whitney Elementary area, going through there towards Indian Lake Boulevard. But what I've seen both during Thanksgiving and during Christmas, during high volume shopping events, when people are over in that area, there's been complete gridlock in the circle. Cars lined up, parked in the circle, and nobody can go. Even the cross streets from Sam's Club and Hobby Lobby can't even cross because people are just parked in the circle waiting on that red light to change at Indian Lake Boulevard. At the same time, people coming off of Indian Lake Boulevard were stacked facing the circle back all the way up into Indian Lake Boulevard. So that stays that way until the traffic light turns. If that happened during Christmas and Thanksgiving, it's my understanding that roundabout was put in place for the increased traffic that's going to come when those apartments come online. It's going to be like that every day with 200 to 300 more cars in that area. But we're seeing a snapshot of what could happen. And I had a proposed fix for that, to look into. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but something needs to trigger that red light to open if so many cars get stacked back towards that circle. The next car should not be able to back into there because you can't teach the public how to use that effectively. I don't see how we can. Some signage maybe on the circle, that short, brief 1 or 2 sentence sign that says, don't enter the circle if the pattern is full, or some kind of verbiage that would educate people. But if they do get to the other side of that, and there's nowhere else to go except for this one trigger zone, that light turns. It tells everybody on Indian Lake Boulevard, stop, we got to let this free. Otherwise, you're gridlocked. But I sent videos, and the other issue is semi trucks are coming through there. And I don't care what kind of signs you put on there telling trucks they can't come. If they turn right coming out of Sam's Club, they're headed towards the circle. Now they got nowhere else to go. If they made a mistake, they're going through it, like it or not.
Yeah.
And they're tearing the crap out of every piece of grass and shrubs that have been planted over there. There are mud holes. I don't know how many times that sign's been replaced right there on that corner, but I've seen it replaced at least twice. It's always being run over by the trucks. One of the videos I sent in the email that you may have shared with the committee was the truck just ripping that sign, just all the way down the whole side of the truck. Well, then like 5 minutes later, the truck turns around somewhere up in the school area, and he comes back through the other way, and then runs over all the grass and everything. So all the mud holes you see over there when you go by there, that's semi trucks just coming through that circle. Possibly a height restriction barrier sticking out that will not let trucks come through there. Something up at Sam's Club that says do not turn right, or put the height restriction out there to where they can't turn right. Force them to go straight out to the traffic light at Sam's Club and Indian Lake Boulevard. But tour buses are going through there, running over the roundabout and hitting the corners of all the grass. that area is never going to look like it's supposed to and be nice if we don't address it now. So you got two separate issues: educating the public and getting that red light to trigger, and then keeping the trucks out. So that's for you guys to figure out. But
Okay.
it's only going to get worse. And if you got any questions about other things I saw, I could probably answer them too. I'm trying to remember best of my memory, but I think that covers it. Eddie, is there anything else that we
No.
discussed that
No,
maybe I'm forgetting?
And I sent the videos to Sarah, especially the trucks. So what do you think, Sarah? Is there a fix to that, or roundabouts problematic for the 18-wheelers?
This one was designed for an 18-wheeler. That's why it has the pavers through that center
53
apron.
footer.
I don't know offhand the design vehicle, but it was designed for those delivery trucks, because that is a delivery route for several of those businesses in the area. But this is an improvement that was funded by a developer along with the additional left turn lane, and it has not been accepted yet. We've been going back and forth through punch list items. So we shared those videos and the information back with the developer and their engineer, and they're evaluating it for improvement. So that's typically how we handle those situations until we accept an improvement. It's really still there. It's like all the signs have been replaced. That has all been replaced by the developer. So they're working through that. I think Keith and I actually have a meeting with the developer maybe Thursday, but this week sometime to discuss as well.
Do they have a bond? Does the city have a bond for
Yes,
that
we do.
roundabout?
Yes,
So we still have the bond?
we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I think it'd be helpful if you ask the developer how many times they replace that sign, because especially if they come back and tell you that it's good, we fixed it, just ask them how many times they fix that sign, because I've seen it several times ripped right out. I didn't know that it was designed for 18-wheelers, because they sure can't do it. They may be able to make a 90-degree turn, but when they go all the way around it, they have to hit all the corners, and they do with their back tires, and it rips everything. And then when they do the right-hand turn, the roundabout may be okay, but the island that heads towards Whitten Elementary, if Sam Club's over here, that little island right there can't handle it. And that's why that last 10, 15 feet gets treaded on every time. You see the mud splash out into the road every time.
Sure.
After this rain event this week, you guys drive through there and see what kind of mess you see there, and try to brainstorm over fixes.
Did Kimley Horn do this one?
That was a Kimley Horn.
So when do you think we need to put this back on the agenda for the committee to get an additional report, Sarah?
We
You
can
said-
put it back on next month if you'd like.
Okay. And the light situation, once we get light synchronization, will that help with that situation as far as reading that they're backed up so far and it needs to, is that a function that the new system can accommodate?
That will not be part of the second project. That would add an additional kind of layer that we'd have to handle separately. It'd be very complex because the light synchronization project really is meant to prioritize Indian Lake Boulevard. So what he's discussing is a little bit more of an adaptive capability, and that's a completely different type of system.
Okay.
It's if this happens, then this happens, and
Yeah.
that's not what the light synchronization is going to fix. I knew it was going to be trouble on that, but I don't see a fix for that other than teaching people not to go into that circle.
Yeah, I think
I
it's going to have to be communicated to treat it like an intersection. Do not enter the intersection once.
There was
there's
one
a
more
red
idea I
ahead.
had on that was to, since you can drive up on those pavers, put a police officer there for several weeks, during high traffic times and holiday shopping or rush hour or whatever, that stops people from entering that circle when it's, I don't know, if that's a visual that if they do it, he's there saying, nope, can't do that. You got to stop. But that may only educate the people that are doing it at that time. Signage maybe. it's just gonna be a headache going forward. And I think you won't realize until you sign off on the project, once the apartment's open, then
Yeah.
few months later, or a few weeks later, you're gonna say, oh, it's too late now. Now we gotta eat it. I'm just
No,
forewarning you.
I'm glad you brought it up now.
Yeah.
We got options.
Thanks.
Please
exactly
look
right.
into it.
Thanks. We'll continue to look at it.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on the agenda for our next month, and that'll give them an opportunity on Thursday to talk about it. And then if anything, until next month, to give them 4 weeks to really look into it and see.
Well, if any of you guys haven't seen the videos yet, please watch it so you see what
We'll
they're
look at it.
seeing, and I'm not exaggerating.
Okay.
You'll understand.
Thanks.
We got it. Anything else? All right, well, thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, because that's the last thing what we want is something that, that we were involved in, whether it be the developer or not, or we approve it, and it turns out to be, just ridiculous, that we should have seen that early on, and you brought it to our attention.
There's times I go through there and it sails through, and it feels so good to
Yeah.
just cruise through there at 20. You just whip it around there and keep on going. Everybody's doing it right. It's like a dance going on. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And then other people go up there to stop at the yield sign
Yeah.
and wait for somebody that's on the other side that's entering at the same time.
Go.
Like they still think it's a four-way stop. It's like, oh, you just ruined it for everybody behind you.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that happen in roundabouts. All right. Well, thank you. Does anyone else have anything on the agenda? All right. Well, then I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, is there a motion? To adjourn, we will adjourn.